Welcome to Terror in Tandem, a podcast about finding entertainment in the macabre. Hosted by the knowledgeable and really sweltering hot Laura and Richard Mathiasen.
Ooh.
Each episode, we discuss the horror genre, from books to film to TV and beyond. Sometimes even from hell on Earth because it's 100 degrees in June. You can find us on YouTube at Terror in Tandem and on Instagram at Terror in Tandem. And you'll always find our latest episode on our website, terrorintandem.com. And we will be found also in the cooling tents spread out through the city.
So how are we feeling about the heat wave?
Oh, I didn't even notice. Is there a heat wave?
Is there? I don't mean to get political, folks, but it's hot out.
Yeah, it sure is.
I know that's divisive, but it's warm.
Yeah, I mean, it's hot,
It
and
is.
I'm using air conditioning.
The
Sorry.
humidity is absurd. I went out for a little walk this morning, and I came back
disgusting,
fully drenched.
And when he says this morning, it was like 9 a.m.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like super early, but it also wasn't late enough to be that hot. Anyway, we're
do you
dealing
want to
with it,
hear a
folks.
little like bougie bitch stuff? Is yesterday we went to the farmer's market. I don't know why it's bougie, but I guess it comes across that way. But anyway, we went to the farmer's market to get some fresh produce.
Oh.
And one of us nearly lost consciousness from the humidity.
Oh, right.
And
it was me.
Soup City.
Yeah.
Soup City, USA is where our new location is. Just saying. And that could be, you could also be living in Soup City, USA. There are many locations of Soup City, USA. And what it means to live in Soup City, USA is you step outside into a big one of those buffet style
like
metal cauldrons.
Yeah,
the hot bar. It's got to be the black outside, like the cast iron outside.
So yeah,
with
just
the
a
metal filler inside.
bubbling cauldron.
You lift the lid, aka open your front door, and you step right into a nice steaming, bubbling cauldron of soup.
But climate change has definitely taught me something about humanity and how we deal with problems. Is we don't. We'll definitely talk about it for 4 to 5 decades and make fun of each other and lie and all that. But it's just, it's nice to know that we're really good at identifying a problem and then discussing it while we all die from it.
Well, I'm going to complain about it because that's the Soup City
that
USA
falls in the discussion
way.
category.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have something to talk about while we all suffer through the most avoidable, obvious thing ever. But anyway, sorry to get political, folks, but it's hot.
We're going to get
it's hot.
technically speaking.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the machines.
Speaking of one of the, fears of the modern age, rise of the machines, techno horror, that fear that we have of rapidly advancing technology. And this is something that is...
And let's just level set real quick. There is an enticement and a benefit from technology and utilizing technology.
Living past 30.
Also, life support systems and, air conditioners,
yeah.
Oh, man. Oof. Central air.
Mr. Conditioner, you done good.
Is even an upsell
or
of that.
Mrs. Conditioner.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my positive technology conversation will be centered around cooling systems.
Do you think we'll get those, the still suits from Dune, from Arrakis? I mean, here's the thing.
Those seem like it's hot.
Well, it recycles your pee.
And is there air blowing on your skin?
No.
Because that's the thing. Your skin has a natural mechanism to cool itself. It's called sweat.
Yeah.
And so when you cover it in clothes and you sweat, there's no air. Regardless of how stagnant and hot the air is, there's
Tell
no
me
air.
more.
There's no evaporation process to happen to cool your body down. Is there an evaporation system within the suit?
No, that's sort of the point of a still suit is nothing evaporates. It keeps all of the moisture. So
So you're sopping humid,
You have-
moist wetness.
You
Oh, I'm
watched
sorry. Yeah, but I don't care about their stupid
all
suits.
3 of
It's
those
more
movies
about
with
aesthetics.
me. I've read
Come on,
My
you
God,
know.
how could you...
Sir.
You have sat through 9 hours of Dune content at least.
And much more of leading up to and conversation around and...
Anyway, we're not going to get into what a still suit
9
is on
hours.
this podcast.
What about the original Dune?
I included that.
Oh.
They're all very
I feel like
long
I've
movies.
watched Dune a couple of times, the original Dune.
And yet...
But here's the thing. It's aesthetics. It's not really meant to cool you down. Anybody like, I feel so cool. You guys got to get in this suit.
No, it keeps them alive on a planet where everyone dies.
Well, I'd rather be dead than have... I'm sorry that I don't know what a suit does, but I know that they look cool.
Neat. So, anyway, getting back to what we were talking about. Back to what we were talking about today, technological horror. Now, this is something that it incorporates elements of fear of the unknown, which has always been part of the human experience, but it is a relatively new fear in the collective consciousness, meaning it's really only around the Industrial Revolution that we started to fear the rise of technology itself, as if technological advancement was not within our control. And
Right.
as we've come to realize with the detonation of the dirty bombs of like ChatGPT into the internet, it really isn't in our control anymore.
And people don't want to control it right now. So that's, gonna make things go in a direction of where we probably have to course correct.
Well, there was a study just released a few days ago that compared the release of ChatGPT and other similar plagiarism machines onto the internet is analogous to the detonation of nuclear tests in the 1940s, which forever polluted the world's steel supply.
Yeah, it's just a different type of pollution.
Which leads nicely into the fear. It's not necessarily what we're talking about, the fear of technology itself. It's the fear of the rapid advancement of technology kind of making us irrelevant or knocking us off our spot on the food chain.
One of the themes I think we'll be talking about today is not just fear, or like not fear at all, is just ignorance and the inability to listen to warnings. That's a theme that's prevalent throughout tech horror.
And modern life.
Yeah.
So, getting back to like the origin of this fear, the Industrial Revolution, what it did in Europe and the United States, it took, it mechanized production. So, all of a sudden people were losing their jobs, losing things they had spent their entire lives becoming experts in. And then, basically from one day to the next, they're told, yeah, all of that stuff you spent your life doing and perfecting, it's meaningless because this machine can do it 100 times faster and better. So it's that loss of self. It's the loss of your place in the world. But also, these machines were hurting people. These people were being ground up in these industrial machines. There were horrible fires and accidents and abysmal working conditions.
And the machines were causing pollution to people in the surrounding environments, both in the factory and outside of the factory.
So,
because there were no regulations on air quality.
Within less than one lifetime, you could watch your agrarian, idyllic, a village turn into a soot-covered nightmare where everyone is coughing. And that happened within just a few decades. Like, it's very, very hard to overstate the environmental and the psychological shock of that level of change. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be a Luddite or anything. I'm just acknowledging that it was a time of massive upheaval, and that causes fear. So out of that, you have these stories start to arise in weird fiction about like automatons and clockwork men and, basically robots.
Yeah.
And things that were slipping beyond human control or replacing humans or attacking humans, just a new threat to us. And then, of course, you have soon after that, 60, 70 years later, World War I and mechanized warfare, which is the Industrial Revolution on a killing scale. So from muskets to machine guns, from horses to tanks, from dynamite to mustard gas. So it's like this rapid advancement in the science of death and death making.
Yeah, and sometimes it's necessary, and it can sometimes be a positive. Don't get us wrong. There are positive movements in technology,
Sure.
like assembly lines to prevent, people from being injured. One, I think, example of what technology can do to just the average means of production, for example, is if you watch the movie Chicken Run. I think it's a very light entry into look at what happens when you add machines to replace, a manual process.
Yeah, there's the loss of, personal touch, artistry, or just that sort of je ne sais quoi of humanity.
And what it does to the source, so Chicken Run, they were delivering eggs, and that was kind of the means of production. But then because the farmers wanted to make money, they decided to make chicken pies. And how do you make chicken pies? You make it with the actual chickens that were producing the eggs all along, and they don't know what's happening, and they don't have a say in it. And that's kind of, I think, a good kind of story of how sometimes technology takes over without people realizing what of a negative impact it can have.
Well, yeah, at the time of the Industrial Revolution, what the ruling class was telling the proletariat, don't be afraid. These are going to make your lives easier. It's going to make you all rich. It's going to give you leisure time. And,
but
obviously,
it never makes the workers
none
rich.
of that happened. None of that happened.
We know that.
That's the same thing during the rise of the internet, in like the 90s, when Bill Gates said you're going to be working a 4-day work week and all of us are going to have universal basic income. And that never happened. And now with the rise of AI, quote unquote, the Sam Altmans and Elon Musk of the world are telling us we're going to have leisure time and we're going to have, this and that. And it's, again, the same level of psychological, social, economic upheaval being driven by, maybe not the most altruistic of motives. All of this is to say it's a perfect environment for
horror movies
and fear on a human-wide level.
And what's interesting is this episode isn't going to be positive.
No.
This is going to be a very kind of dystopian review of what tech horror has shown us, what people fail to listen to, and what is still coming.
Yeah, there's not a lot of horror movies out there about machines being bros.
No. I would say maybe Andor.
But they had to reprogram that guy.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, even
sure.
even that though,
Not a horror show.
still a killing machine.
It is.
Okay, well, I want to start. Unless you have something
Please.
earlier than the 80s.
No.
I want to start with kind of the, I don't know, the king here, the what do they call it? The goat of tech horror, which is the Terminator.
Okay.
From 1984, the original Terminator. And,
Which is, through a certain lens, a stalker movie.
Yeah, so it's a
or
sci-fi.
like a slasher.
Yeah,
A stalker
sci-fi
slasher.
action, techno horror. Sarah Connor tries to escape a cyborg assassin, the T-800, sent from a dystopian future where a rogue AI system called Skynet has wiped out much of humanity. So with this film comes many warnings. Many people won't listen. And this is really interesting because it really focuses on the dread, really focuses on survival. And the theme of technological overreach and AI domination is what I think is the scariest part of this film, and really my first exposure to what machines can do when they are built to destroy. Like, you can't stop them. Even when, we see this happening in like future after future in this film, other Terminator films, which I'm not going to talk about, but I'm really talking about this one because it's the one that kind of stands out the most for me in my memories of when I was the most fearful of technology and what it could do, because it's all started as, a money-making corporate entity who wants world domination at all costs. It sort of has the vibe of the creation of the nuclear weapon, of where somebody creates something and the wrong people get their hands on it, and it's just, that this isn't going to be good, and it ends up turning out to be pretty disastrous.
Yeah. I mean, what stands out most for me in Terminator is when Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese is giving this speech about what the T-800 is. He says it never sleeps, it doesn't eat, it doesn't feel pain, it will never stop ever until you are dead. And that is the fear that we have, a robot soldier versus a human soldier. Is there's always a possibility that the human soldier in a moment of decision will feel humanity. And you hear about this all the time, where a soldier will say, "I didn't fire on this person because they look like my brother," or I took this person prisoner because they reminded me of someone I used to know," or "I'm tired of killing." It's just these moments of humanity. Machines will never have that. If they are programmed to kill, they will kill. If there's a begging for your life, that doesn't work. So
the machines in Terminator actually use humanity against themselves, because you're making human decisions and evolving. Sarah Connor isn't pregnant, so she doesn't quite understand why this machine is after her, but then through these circumstances she gets pregnant with John, who is the future destroyer of Skynet. The tech horror of Terminator. One of the more chilling things about that movie is when they're describing Skynet and what it is and what it does. It's what Skynet is the United States, the Department of Defense has integrated an AI system into all of their missiles and defense systems and all of that, and within less than a second, Skynet runs all the numbers on humanity, on its history, on its proclivity towards violence, and decides that the greatest threat to humanity is humanity. And it launches every nuke from every country all at once, or not like America, and everybody responds, because the only way to save humanity is to end humanity. And it's that kind of intractable logic problem. You can't reason with that. You can never. So it's like not being able to see the eyes of your adversary. Like, you can't get into the mind of a machine because it doesn't have a mind. And you're not wrong. This movie, I think, is responsible for, I don't know, at least partially responsible for giving us that sick feeling in your stomach whenever you see a robot dog being marched down the street or some shit, or an actual humanoid looking robot. I think a lot of us have that dread. Now, I do. I'm not comfortable with something that is stronger than me and I can't be reasoned with. I'm still scared of a bunch of military people standing in lines with guns. I don't know how I would handle robots standing in lines with guns.
Humans with guns are scary, but machines with guns, scarier, especially since those machines are programmed by humans. Often antisocial weirdos with really strange ideas about breeding.
And it's hard to, destroy a robot.
Yeah, that's the other thing is in Terminator, regular weapons don't do shit on it. They really talk about that a lot. Bullets bounce off of it. I mean, machines are stronger than flesh bags.
One thing that stands out, though, is Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah. She just is having a regular life until she isn't.
Yeah, that's the metaphor for the unwanted march of technology. Is Sarah Connor is just having a day until a machine, kills her roommate and comes after her and starts shooting her up, and then some other weirdo shows up. Like, she's just, it's like walking down the street and getting hit by a robotaxi. You did not sign up for that. You did not say yes to it. There are just autonomous cars in the streets now, and occasionally they hit people.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to be fucking fine with that. So, yeah, you're right. Linda Hamilton's character is all of us being thrown into a sort of weird technological, we don't know what it is because it's advancing quicker than we can figure it out.
And the other thing is there were many warnings and many people saying that this is not good and people trying to protect it. I mean, I think where this, I don't know, information exists, the zip drive or whatever it is like super secure, but not.
Well, it's
not impenetrable.
That's one of my favorite parts about this movie is that it takes Skynet almost zero time being aware. They turn it on and it destroys humanity faster than we can think because it's like, oh, you're disgusting. Boop. So anyway, Terminator is the OG. It's the best. And James Cameron quite recently, I think, in an interview said, I warned you all about this. I don't know what else you want me to do. Like, he was typical James Cameron saltiness, but yeah, you're not wrong. I mean,
yeah, if any of these movies, well, there's another one that I'm going to talk about that's happening now. This is definitely a warning film.
There have been a couple of warning films and books and TV shows and
yeah,
warnings, just straight up screaming warnings from scientists and experts. But you know what? I'm sure it'll be fine. What do you want to talk about next?
What do you got?
Well, we got into AI and sort of like the systems and whatnot. I always appreciated the more analog side of techno horror. So I'm going to talk about like analog. You know, before the rise of the digital era, we had fears of losing our humanity in like a very literal way of becoming machines. The philosophical concept of the ship of Theseus, where if you start replacing parts of yourself, how much of you is still left? And now that we have pins and prosthetics and augmented this and that, that very much comes into place. So I'm going to start with a very subtle, deep philosophical examination of this. 1990s Hardware from Richard Stanley. And of course, I am kidding. This movie is wild. But it's very like, okay, so first off, everyone should see this. This movie is a treat. It is a complete, crazy, zany, very 90s, heavy metal, hilarious, weird movie. Dylan McDermott, real young Dylan McDermott in 1990.
Real handsome.
Yeah. And the little person who plays Burglecut from Willow, which if you're an 80s weirdo like me, you totally know who I'm talking about. He's in it. So it's Richard Stanley is an interesting director. He's an South African director who very famously did The Island of Dr. Moreau with Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer and then kind of disappeared for a few decades. But he recently did the very good Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage. So check that out. Anyway, 1990 Hardware. It's kind of hard to describe. It's the future. Everything is irradiated, and the whole movie is shot through a red lens. So it like everything is red and dusty. And I think they shot it out in like City of Industry in California because it's just desert and like pipes and oil rigs and stuff. Now, Iggy Pop is in it, but you never see him. He's a radio DJ who kind of bookends the movie and comes up with like highlights here and there. Basically, a scavenger finds an old robot killing machine in the desert, and Dylan McDermott buys it and he takes it home to his girlfriend, who is a artist who uses it in an art piece, but then it comes alive and starts killing people. And it's really weird, though. Like, it's a very psychedelic, strange movie. But I do want to call out right in the middle of it when Dylan McDermott hops into a cab driven by Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead.
Wow.
And it's an amazing cameo. Lemmy is always great to watch. But my favorite part is towards the end of it, he goes, "Hey, do you guys want to listen to some music?" Turns on the radio, and it's Motorhead playing Ace of Spades.
That probably was his criteria to be in the film.
But like, you get into a cab. By the way, it's a water taxi because LA's flooded. Driven by Lemmy Kilmister, and he goes, "Do you want to listen to some music?" and puts on his own record. Damn. Iggy Pop also does a lot of the music for this movie, but it's like 90s Iggy Pop, so your mileage varies there. But what this movie has is that very real, like, wires and gears and things like moving and connecting to each other as
like
this robot.
homegrown robotry.
Yeah, as this robot like reassembles itself.
Robotics.
And it injects, weird hallucinogens into people. And
how did it get filled with hallucinogens?
It's a lot.
Oh,
Look, this movie,
suspend disbelief.
This movie's a lot. But what I will say about Hardware is it has an extremely RoboCop style sense of humor. It's a very funny movie, but in a heavy metal magazine 2000 AD Judge Dredd style. Like, everything is disgusting and horrible, but sardonic. So it's like very Reagan, Thatcherism, like taken to an extreme, which is like Judge Dredd, or like Warhammer kind of. The future is awful, but Hardware is. It's a little hard to define. It's gory. It's weird. It's funny. It's like got a lot of sex, but not sexy. And it's just a real like weird gem. It's actually a bit hard to find, but you can if you're looking for it. I don't know, man. They don't make movies like this anymore. And I know that's kind of a cliched thing to say, but this is a wild, practical effects driven classic. I mean, it's a cult classic. It's pretty well known amongst, horror weirdos, but also in the Office, the show The Office, the character Gabe, when he's dating Erin, and he's forcing her to watch horror movies. The movie that she talks about him making her watch was Hardware.
Yeah,
this very one. So
he makes her watch a lot.
Check it out, folks. It's wild.
Well,
definitely have your substance of choice.
You mentioned augmentation, and that brings me to talk about another movie from 2018 called Upgrade.
Huge fan of this one.
So I'm just going to briefly talk about it. It's written and directed by Lee Winnell, who did Saw.
He wrote Saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Invisible Man and the recent Wolfman. A lot of men.
It stars Logan Marshall Green. He has kind of a cute life, and he gets into an accident that leaves him not really an accident. Kind of, we find out. I'm not going to ruin the plot, but he is paralyzed and his wife is dead, and he has been working with this. He seems like he's part robot billionaire guy who has this technology called STEM, which is a chip that goes in your body, and it's been tested, but I don't think it's really been tested on people. So he puts it in Logan Marshall Green's body, and once he realizes that he can call upon it, it kind of takes over. It's like a killing machine. His body turns into a killing machine. So I think that's really interesting, because a lot of people now, if they need a prosthetic or, some kind of new ankle or something like that, there's a lot of medical technology that implements things in your body. Sometimes people have spinal surgery and they have wires running through their body, pacemakers, things like that. Lots of things are injected, and this is kind of imagining if you had something injected into you that you would basically be like, Alexa, punch.
Well, the thing about STEM is, it's not developed for that purpose. What it's supposed to, at least ostensibly, is it's supposed to heal paraplegics, right? So it starts to re-knit his nervous system, which has been damaged, and it augments him, like it makes him quicker, it makes him a little faster. But then as he starts to have people coming after him, and that gets into the plot he has assassins coming after him. He can cede control to STEM, where STEM like starts driving his body. So it just moving him. And Logan Marshall Green does such an amazing job of, on his face, he's, like, oh my God, I'm not in control, as he's like, throat chopping people and doing these crazy moves.
And killing people and really being upset about it.
Does a great job of, his body does seem like it's disconnected from his mind. So his movements, must have had a great movement coach for this. But the more he gives control over to this thing, the more you realize that it's a lot more insidious than you had imagined.
He doesn't have control over it. That's the whole point, is it's supposed to, yes, give him movement back because he's quadriplegic now. But once he gives the AI system permission to run his body, that's really it.
And that's the way that STEM presents these options, which seem like options but aren't, is very much the way that we've all been presented with AI. When STEM says, give me control of your body, his only other option is be killed by the person trying to kill him. So obviously he says yes. STEM...
Also, he knows that sometimes he might need to kill somebody, but he doesn't want to do it. So it's almost like relinquishing
that
part
of his guilt.
control. Yeah.
And
so
but
like,
what I mean
didn't
is,
do it, STEM did it.
It slowly starts to put itself into his life by helping, by offering assistance, by saying it's just temporary, by saying, oh, just this one time. And then it starts to become, but you need this, but you can't live without it. But now that you have it, you can't get rid of it. And now you're me and I am you.
This is an example of an average technology that is meant to support and aid in everyday tasks that then becomes much more violent and operating outside of the prompt of the human who's controlling it. And it's no longer being controlled by the human, which is, I think, the biggest fear of AI.
There's also the fact that STEM is not necessarily isolated to this chip. Now, a few weeks ago, a story broke about, I think it was one of the chat systems that in simulations, when it was told it was going to be taken offline, the chat scoured the email of the person communicating with it and used information it found to blackmail him. So they deliberately put in their email like hints of extramarital affairs. And when they said they were going to take this AI system offline, the AI said, well, do you want me to send these pictures to all of your colleagues?
Yeah.
So faced with its own quote unquote demise, these systems are now reverting to, a subterfuge, if not violence, to preserve themselves. Shit, man. I mean, come on. Like, there are 19 Terminator movies. Do I need to make this anymore? Okay.
I'm going to talk about mental health after the break in a specific example, but I want you to think about these chat engines and how they can be programmed to, not be uplifting to people when they ask, am I a good person?
The ones that are straight up telling people to kill themselves now? Yeah. That's cool.
So let's take a break.
Ooh. And we're back. And would like to remind everyone that we are pleased with our robot overlords. We are happy now. And it's just better this way.
So what do you got up?
I want to keep going on with the analog horror that I was talking about. But I'm going to get a little disgusting with it. So there is this idea, getting back to the ship of Theseus, where you start replacing yourself, of mutilation, actually defiling or cutting into the body to put metal into it. Now, on a surgical level, that's not a weird thing, right? We put pins and replacements and things like that, joints. But even in that clinical professional setting, you are slicing open the body to put metal parts in. I mean, it's a visceral and violent thing. And I think nowhere is this better, or more weirdly.
Are you talking about some of the people that do like rings inside them and bumps to become like lizard type people?
Oh no, I was just talking about people getting like, hip replacements or some shit.
Oh,
but
well,
no,
there's also that.
Yeah, no, there's all. I remember I went to this
people that sever their tongue.
No, I went to a Nine Inch Nails show in like 1993, I think, and
you're aging yourself.
There was like a.
You must have been a little baby.
There was like a modern freak show, Cirque du Freak kind of thing, and there was, I think he called himself the Enigma. He had a tattoo over every inch of his body of a jigsaw puzzle, and he had split his tongue like a lizard. And there were people there who were like swinging cinder blocks from their cock rings and stuff. It was a lot. Yeah, but I'm talking about
not appropriate for a baby.
1989's Tetsuo the Iron Man, which is a very difficult movie to explain. Now, it is the classic, which was directed, written, produced, and edited by Shinya Tsukamoto, coming from Japan, obviously. Now, it has 2 sequels, and it has become a cult classic. It's filmed in 4:3 aspect ratio, so like a box, kind of, not widescreen. It's black and white. It's from 1989, and it's like the closest movie I can think of is Eraserhead. So if you've ever seen David Lynch's Eraserhead, you get the general vibe. It has ostensibly a plot, but it's very loose, and it's really more of an experience. But what this movie is, just on a loose level, it's about a weird guy who he mutilates himself and puts like metal parts into his body. So like in the beginning of the movie, he's like slicing his leg open and, shoving screws. And it's very like, this isn't like surgical equipment. This is like nuts and bolts from the hardware store. It's very DIY. So he gets hit by a car, driven by a guy with his girlfriend. And that guy starts to become part machine. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's like a little over an hour. It's very frenetic. It's extremely graphic, but it's black and white, so that makes it a little easier. But it's just this guy, getting like circuits put through his face and, cameras and like literally melding the flesh with machine. Now, my other example in that area is when you say flesh, it's obviously Videodrome. We're going all the way back to 1983. David Cronenberg's Videodrome, starring James Woods and a really, really very, very attractive Debbie Harry, Blondie. Now, again, the plot of this movie, I would say, secondary to the experience of watching it. But what this movie does is it further explores Cronenberg's obsession with melding flesh with machine. There's the scene where James Woods has a VHS machine in his stomach. And you can put tapes in now. All hail the new flesh. It's, long story short, it's like this signal going out from a weird pirate broadcast that's changing people. And it's the next evolution of humanity as we start to become sort of weird sex machine people. Cronenberg again goes into that in Crash, where you see, Rosanna Arquette with her very, very intricate and metallic leg brace.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But just the idea that the more we advance technology and the quicker we do it, and the faster these things happen, that means we cut corners, and the corners we cut are safety ethics, and just stopping for a moment to think, should we be doing this? Now, examples like this feature people voluntarily and involuntarily having their body violated and invaded and ultimately replaced with machine. Like,
yeah, that's not to say that if you lose a limb that you should not, it's weird to get a prosthetic, because it's not.
No, this is absolutely not in any way shaming somebody for that, but you will read and hear a lot of people who have prosthetics that, especially in the beginning, some folks struggle with a foreign object being attached to them.
Yeah,
there is,
of course.
There is a visceral, corporal sensation to that of like a foreign invader to the body, but there's also the psychological aspect of how much of me is me. This is explored in RoboCop when, you find out like how much of Alex Murphy's actual body is left over. The remake of RoboCop's not very good, but that scene's amazing when they show that Joel Kinnaman's basically just a face and like a lung and a heart.
Yeah.
And everything else is machine. I think as we advance towards things like the technological singularity and brain neural chips and, augmentations, there will be a stratification of society of people who are augmented and who aren't, who can afford it and who can't. And these are things that have been discussed for over a century.
Yeah.
But Tetsuo the Iron Man and Videodrome, they're a little hard to watch because they're definitely body horror.
And if they're recommended by you, of course, they're going to be hard
of course,
to watch.
But I think in this digital age where everything is in the cloud and invisible, there's the insidiousness of it. It invades your life without you even knowing. There's something refreshing about watching these analog tales of the machines literally attacking you and literally invading your body. There's nothing like hiding in the cloud. This is very straightforward. But it's a good visual representation, I think. When you see the body being mutilated by machines, understand that your mind is being mutilated just like that.
Yeah.
But you can't see it. So these, there is the very literal, like, gross out horror. But what does it for me in movies like this is it's just a physical representation of what's happening to our souls and our minds and our spirits and our sense of dignity and humanity if we let technology advance quicker than our understanding of it.
Well, it's a perfect segue into what I want to talk about, which is the psychology and mental health of engaging with technology. And sometimes people's drive to engage with technology. So one film I wanted to talk about, which is also a warning film from back in 2001, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse.
Wow.
It's a Japanese techno horror film, and what it really does,
and an all-time classic.
Yeah. What it really does, and this is kind of coming from the earliest onset of the internet.
Of like the World Wide Web,
Yeah.
message boards, instant messaging.
And it
I fucking miss those days.
It envisions a world of where the theme of loneliness and isolation is really wrapped up in this film's plot, which is ghosts infiltrate the world in this strange website, in this strange room of a website. And it starts to lead people in the community to commit suicide, like widespread suicide.
Which is another, very Japanese concern over the last 30 years.
So then the people that are still alive are kind of reconciling with, are they alive? Are they real? What's real? Who's real? Are these ghosts real?
Sound familiar?
Yeah. And so it creates this kind of very deep emotional disconnection and existential dread. And that's kind of the theme throughout the entire film. It's this connection to a digital world, relying on having relationships with people or collecting information or using it as a resource and becoming more reliant on, the digital. and becoming more unfamiliar with actual societal, social connection.
Yeah, here's the thing, folks. If you don't practice those social skills, they go away.
Yeah, these people start to withdraw. They get depressed.
You know, like let's say we were all, hypothetically speaking, locked down in our houses for 6 months, and then we just released out into the world with absolutely no acknowledgement of what happened or any sort of like training on that. You know, people might be acting out.
You're talking about COVID.
Oh, am I?
You know, you have to think about people who were born into COVID, or their consciousness or knowledge of the world around them started at its height during COVID, and having connections with people or maintaining connections with people online.
Yeah.
Or creating new connections with people.
No, it must be wild to be young right now, because everyone older than you is going, it didn't used to be like this. And you're just like, well, not for me. It's always fucking been like this.
And some people find comfort in online connection. I am not going to shit on making friends online.
Oh, no.
I think that is critical for people.
It was a beautiful thing when it began.
I think now people meet and know people that they've only had relationships with online, but they're
like, I had a very good friend who in her illness was unable to, for years, towards the end of her life, unable to be around people.
Yeah.
And it was, look, I'm not anti-internet.
And some people have social issues, social anxieties that prevent them from being out in the real world, or distance. You know,
I was one of those people. The internet was huge for me. I'm very much upset about what these people have done to the internet recently.
I think here's where the danger comes in, is when things that seem real are not real.
Yeah.
You know, the bots, the catfishing, AI, you know, people developing relationships with actual technology. For example, there was just a story that came out, you know, a couple of days ago, that this man, he's a dad, and he has an actual girlfriend, like a human girlfriend in his life. He proposed to an AI chatbot because he programmed it to flirt, and he cried for a half an hour because the chatbot said yes, and he thinks it's real love. And this is like kind of stolen directly from the film Her.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we chatted about, Richard and I chatted about the other day, is I think in the next decade plus, we are going to start to see some younger people having actual relationships, legitimate in their mind relationships with different types of technology.
Jesus, if it keeps them from shooting up schools.
And it's really all about this kind of society of loneliness, this deep-seated depression, this isolation of not being accepted.
What I love about Pulse especially, though, is the end goes big.
It does.
The end, the movie is a very intimate film. It's a kind of a quiet movie for most of it. And then
because nobody exists anymore.
Then the end goes so big. And that's very much Kurosawa style.
And there's no attempt, like, this film isn't about them trying to stop the internet from happening. They're really just trying to hold on to their own connection.
It's the slow apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really poignant. And then I just briefly want to talk about, because it's on theme, relationships with robots.
Just real quick, back to Pulse, one of the greatest jump scares of all time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of all time.
We won't ruin it, even though it's,
if you've
like,
seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
Movie.
It. Check it out. Sorry.
So I love this movie so much. I'm very surprised Richard has not watched it, because it's Alex Garland, and I feel like you like.
I love
some
Alex.
of his movies.
I was a fan of him as a novelist before he made movies.
So it's Ex Machina. It came out in 2015.
The Beach.
And basically, men. I just want to read this. In the future, men will move from being possessive of real life women to being possessive of new android women.
Progress.
So it's Alex Garland's directorial debut. and it focuses on Domhnall Gleeson's character, Caleb. He comes to spend a week at the compound of this kind of isolated CEO played by Oscar Isaac. Like, he needs to create a robot. Come on, people. Have you seen him? And he's going to administer nothing.
Did you say something?
No. He's going to administer a Turing test on the female android played by Alicia Vikander.
A Turing test being how you tell an android from a person, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the programmer, Caleb, falls in love with the android. And the things she's saying makes him feel like the CEO is the problem here. And so he starts to become possessive in his own way. And the android, what happens? What happens when they continue to collect this programming? And the humanization of this android is really well done in this film. And who you are actually kind of rooting for as a viewer of this film is very interesting. But I think that this film kind of looks at someone who has everything, all the money, all the resources and everything, creates this real life, version of a love interest with an android. And what is it? You still don't trust.
Yeah.
There's still this lack of trust.
That's
even you created it, you programmed it, and then you bring in an outside source to vet
the number
and
one
validate.
thing I don't understand about the super wealthy. If I came into like an absurd amount of money, like a 1% type, you'd never fucking see me again.
Yeah.
You'd never hear from me again. I would disappear.
I would just travel everywhere.
Exactly.
And drink fine wine.
What I wouldn't do is run for office
Yeah.
and make myself the biggest asshole on the planet.
Well, yeah.
I would just
I mean, I think you can be
have
an
amazing
asshole
food
without money.
I know, but
you
just God damn it.
Anyway, this does kind of speak to what will people who are lonely and isolated, what extremes will they go to when the loneliness and isolation was most likely a result of the technology, the early iterations of the technology in the beginning.
Look,
we're continuing to isolate, we're continuing to separate socially, we're continuing to be depressed and more reliant on technology, and that isn't going to make you more fulfilled and happy and more connected.
It's a different set of skills relating to human beings than it is interacting or interfacing with machines. And if you do not develop the skills to relate to human beings and you go out and try it too, it's going to be weird and off-putting and probably push you further into isolation. But,
yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of technology
about human behavior in relation to the technology around us.
And
but
again, we want to be
we're just
clear.
talking about the horror movies.
We are not Luddites. We are not anti-technology.
No.
What Laura and I are cautious of, and we think all thinking people should be, is reckless advancement of technology without regard to how it affects people, the world, and how it will be used. It's not enough to say, I made this to make it. It is responsible to say, maybe I shouldn't create this.
Like, for example.
Or even just, does anyone want it?
Just take a minute to think about naming your voice recognition technology or a chat system after a human. Humanizing computers and technology.
Alexa.
Yeah, you don't have to call
Siri.
it Alexa. You can call it computer. But
it's not a person. And
that's
it never
kind
will
of
be.
the thing I like about ChatGPT is it is not a human name.
Yeah.
Because it is very much a chat engine.
Yeah.
And, just think about those kinds of things. Think about how easily that slips into your life.
And while you're thinking about it, get a library card and read a fucking book once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, or listen to a book.
it's just something to keep your brain from leaking out of your ears, please. I have to live with the rest of you.
And take some of the warnings, but also, human connection. Authentic, gentle, kind human connection.
Well, I'm going to go call my robot girlfriend.
Yeah, maybe she has more tolerance. Bye, everyone.
Beep.
Terror in Tandem is written, produced, and recorded by Laura and Richard Mathiasen, and edited and mixed by Richard Mathiasen. Our theme was written and performed by Carrie Denver, and all other music was written and performed by David Hispanic. All opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and should be taken as such. Thanks for listening, and please remember to give us a like, a review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. We're still